That was John Dugan from Texas Chainsaw 1 that started it all, Bill.
The big one. The Big Daddy. That gave birth to all these little babies.
There is no doubt now that this will have to be at least a 2-part episode because we're well over 2 hours now on the whole thing. So that's great.
Feature content. Yes.
Where were we, Bill? It was my job to keep up with it. The last time we were talking about it, I know it did. So we were talking about the ice sub scene, and then we got into the anytime did you guys question these scenes, or did you accept them as they were? And that's I believe when John called in, we started talking about that. Maybe it's a good time to start talking about the mood, like what was the mood like on the set of Texas Chainsaw 2, and tension, laughter. Was it all the above? Talk to me about that just a little bit.
Yeah, it was a big mixed bag. I usually think of I think when you get a big budget movie, at the time, Saw was a pretty big budget. $5 million was pretty big back in '86. It's like a giant organized tornado of money, equipment, and people that kind of working together, and they sweep in at warp speed, and they change stuff, and they get their model up and get going. And there's all this stuff. It's like an anthill. And the mood was, the stuff I've done on the mood is usually whatever the mood of the movie is, And there was trouble brewing on the horizon down there at the old folks at Cannon. Hey, Aunt Tony. Excuse me. There was the movie had to be on the screen in a very short while. Cannon was under contract to have that finished film exhibiting at a specific date, and it was rapidly approaching. Toby was on the set, had his editing room on the set, so he was there. He wasn't in front of the camera or in his trailer. So they were going fast, and Toby was kind of like Dick Corr said, Toby makes very personal films, and Johnny was talking about the same thing about rewriting going on all the time. So there's this, kind of a fluid dynamic in the middle of the process where it's kind of, we got a fuzzy idea and it's coming clearer, and then it pops, and then whatever pops into, a clear focus might be a little bit different, or sometimes very different than what you'd planned. And Toby would, I think, move in that direction because I think he followed his guts. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, because there was just too much stuff to keep track of in your head, I mean, how many directors have directed the franchise so far?
I couldn't tell you.
A lot of directors, big ones, big ones.
Yeah.
And, Toby had, and it was his story. I mean, him and Kim put it together. Kim did the transcribing, and who knows how much of input Toby had. I think he had a lot of conferences with Kit Carson, and pretty much anything on a piece of paper from the writer was okayed by Toby. So that's what it seemed like to me. So the mood was apprehensive. There was a lot of tension. Cannon they were really applying as much pressure as they could to get this thing done right away. And there was a lot of comfortability. There seems to be some kind of bad blood. I don't know if bad blood is the right idea. It seemed like the staff were pissed off about something. I mean, the production manager was seemed to be grumpy all the time, but that may be their job, just to be grumpy, and they were doing a good job then. And so Toby was being beleaguered by agents from coming down from California and coming into spank
Sure.
butt and kick and take names and get things going. But Toby held his ground. They tried to fire him twice. The kid told me, and Toby's
Damn.
contract was holding, and so they sent in I think Ken set down a B camera team, headed up by a separate B director, and he tried to kind of I don't know, he seemed very respectful of what was going on with with what Toby was doing. So it was just a lot of tension. But working with Toby was excellent because I felt really protected and safe because he just didn't put up with any. He was either going to finish this film or he's going to be carried out on a shield. It was the only thing that that I could tell. He was really committed and to do it the way that he wanted to. And as far as I can tell, he was right. And but I think the pressure on him had helped him focus.
I think that's true in a lot of disciplines. When you have a deadline or you have a pressure, you rise to the challenge and perform.
Yeah. He definitely wanted this to work, and he knew he had I think he had something good going because everything was working as far as I knew, and so it was probably like living at Sawyer's home. I think I talked about this before about the director being like a symphony conductor, and they carry that special. They carry the whole symphony inside of them, fully realized, and so if you just want to kind of tap into what's going on in the movie, you just spend a little time with Toby, and then you're kind of put into the emotional space of it.
Yeah, I get that.
Because it was kind of a hard place to remember, because it was so kind of deep and dark together. Yeah, but Toby was there. He always said, "Hey, come on down here." That's right. There it is. Starting to get scary. Okay, yeah, it's right now. You've been going in the right direction. So when you smell the smoke and oil from a chainsaw and cutting through the air, and parts of the set have been hacked to pieces. Really start to get a sense of the reality of the physical possibilities. So it's sort of like living at home as a kid too, with all that turmoil. So of course, turmoil is kind of a constant thing. I guess we're in a house full of teenagers, which kind of I think the Sawyer family pretty much was. It's a bunch of kids who happen to have gone around the sun a whole lot of times. And they had an older body.
That's one way to look at it. Yeah.
Well, just think of it. Especially like people who were born into super wealth. It's just it's something they live with, and they can't imagine any other way. And when you introduce them to something different, they're totally lost. There's a play called The Admirable Crichton that was written by I think Jan Barry, who wrote Peter Pan. And Admiral Crichton is a play about a cruise ship that had floundered, and it was at the time of butlers and the upper crust from Britain, and they were on this island, and there were a bunch of these rich, privileged people and one butler. Well, he ended up becoming the president of the world. He's the only one who knew how to do anything. So he was in charge, and they all, everybody was, it's sort of like a caper movie, or a hostage rescue or something. And Crichton was there, the leader, and taking care of things and making things work. And then when the rescue boat came by, everything went back to the way it was. Crichton was again, dung on their, beneath their feet, and it would be best if Crichton just remembered his place, because we've got things to do back at the Quintilia when we get back food. Well, it's the same kind of idea, I think, which brings me back to my political thought about America.
What is that?
Well, we're in a, you got to think of, when you think of world history, the Constitution, and kind of hooked up to the Magna Carta in some ways. It sort of leads, they sort of dominoed each other. That the American Constitution was kind of based on a self-governing public, right? Well, I think when they, started off, it was going in the right direction, but someone forgot about people who were, from North Europe, Northern Europe. So little by little, the self-determination started. Well, Ron, when you put a big organization together to get it going, just like the Constitutional Congress, and we've got the plan, we've got an idea, we say it's this way, and self-evident truth, blah, blah, blah. Here's the plan. Here's how we want to form the government. We want to have these branches. Mm-hmm. So pretty soon, where did we go wrong? Where did we lose our hold on our political power, our votes? We gave up someplace. Where? I don't know exactly when. Some people have been charting 35, 40 years ago is when the middle class started disappearing.
Yeah.
And so if the middle class started disappearing about 35, 40 years ago, the plan to do that must have happened fairly well before then in order to make, the changes without, it's like, how do you cook a frog? You got to cook your frog
very slowly. Very slowly.
Very slowly.
Yeah.
So I listened to this Fresh Air News, Fresh Air radio show.
NPR. Yeah.
NPR, who this woman who was researching the Koch brothers and the family, and what she reported was that the Koch brothers are both have master's degrees in engineering. And their father was in the oil business, and their family was very regimented and tight and rule-oriented and quite, vulture capitalists. I mean, the Koch brothers' father was, had been doing slant drilling onto Native American reservation from off the reservation, but going in, underneath. At a slant underground, so they're well inside the Native American territory, stealing their oil.
Mm.
Typical kind of thing. So what she said was that these guys figured out the widgets of the government. In other words, they kind of did a big I would think, a very, very large diagram of how the governmental system works as far as they could figure it out. And they found the places that were the pivotal points. If we put a little hole here and a little hole there, through those holes, like Citizens United, well, now that corporations are no longer corporations, they're people. And because they're people, they can give all the money that they want. So there's soft money and dark money. That was probably the biggest thing that helped. Because once you can control how the government works, all the other stuff falls into place, right?
Yeah.
What did Gordon Liddy say? Get them by the balls and their hearts and minds will follow. That was from tricky Dick Nixon's cabinet. So that's exactly, I think, all the other stuff kind of falls off from that. What are you going to do? You have to go,
yeah.
The only thing you can do, either have a giant big fight, and have a giant war, hope you win, and that there's enough stuff left over to, to build something, perhaps on the idea of the Constitution again, or you do it from the inside, like the system was designed to work, which I think is what the main thing Bernie Sanders is doing. He said, even if I'm elected president, I can't do it alone. I have to have a grassroots following behind it. So that's the participatory part. And there's a lot of it. I mean, I went ahead and, got myself, I donated some money to Bernie. And before long, I had emails from lots and lots and lots of Democratic action groups to, let's bring those guns under control. Let's take care of these kids. Let's get that minimum wage up. Let's take care of the environment, et cetera, et cetera. And this stuff is, I mean, this is the only planet we've got, right?
As far as we know.
I mean, haven't you wondered where the hell we're headed? I think everybody's been wondering about that. And this is the real horror story, and I wish you could film the whole thing. How are we going to come out of this one? So I'm hoping that's the deal. It's going to be probably, 35 years to get back to where we need to be. And everybody's going to need to be on top of their game. Because these guys who like to run things, they're good at it. And they don't like not doing it.
And they're not going to lose control of it, right?
No, that's going to be a fight. It's going to be, it's going to take a while. And we may never get back to where we were. And I don't know, unless something happens like the thing in Star Trek. The thing that what changed the world in the Star Trek universes was Gene Roddenberry's original one. One of the reasons we're having trouble, I think, is the scarcity. I don't get enough stuff. I don't have enough to feed my family. I don't have enough to do this. People are, bleeding me dry. So what happened was transporter technology was developed, which in a sense is, the transporter technology is based on the replicator, same thing, right? Which is basic transmutation. So you can turn gold, you can turn dirt into gold. You can transmute. And there was no scarcity anymore. Everybody could have everything they wanted, as much as they wanted. So what are you going to do now? I mean, what would you need to do other than wanting to control a bunch of people, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty easy to deal with. hard to influence people with money if everybody has everything they want. So I think the bribes become a little tougher, but they're still. Man, Ron, think of it. Human beings suck out loud. The human animal needs a lot of civilization. Otherwise, we're like the movies we've been seeing.
Yeah.
If you leave a kid to grow themselves up without any guidance, what are you going to end up with? You're going to end up with the Sawyer family.
We brought it full circle. That was an amazing job.
Well, that's what we end up with. I mean, I think.
Well, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
It's a political statement. I mean, Leatherface is faceless industrialist. He's in his suit. He's stiffed up in his tie. He's got his machinery. He's got
and the skin of someone else on their face. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's got his mutant muscles and his secrecy.
Oh. So I have another question for you. So after getting there, I'm not there yet. You have been, and you've lived the life. I want to know. So after the movie comes out, and Texas Chainsaw 2, 1986, who did you go see it with? Did you what was it like going to see a movie that you were in? And can you talk about who did you go with? What was it like? What was the atmosphere?
Yeah. Year 1986. It was. See, I was in New York, and me and Bill Moseley went to a theater in the afternoon that was doing a matinee of Chainsaw 2. So we went in, and it was a small theater, and the crowd was a kind of a small crowd, maybe, I don't know, a dozen people, not very many. And they rolled it, and Bill and I were, just so, we were on pins and needles, definitely. How is this going to look, and how will it be received? Well, we had been through, months of 24/7 slaughter. It was just trouble all the time. So when we saw the movie on the screen, it wasn't quite as much as we had remembered, But it went by fast. It just seemed like it was over, before long. And some of the comments.
I'm sure they cut a lot out, right? They cut a lot out that you must have filmed.
Oh, pretty much. Well, there was some stuff that I saw that, in terms of scenes that were shot but not used, and they didn't seem critical. One was Dennis Hopper as Lefty in his room just after he had drank that bottle of mezcal and ate the worm. He was going into some, kind of hallucinations. He was on his bed. He had his open palm. He was looking at his hand, and in his hand he had a open hand. He had a pro-handled 45 peacemaker. And he was just kind of gazing on it. It was really interesting. And then the next piece of the scene is when he was having a nightmare of just, dozens of chainsaw blades coming through the wall. And the wall was changing colors and stuff. That was kind of fun. But Toby cut it. He didn't use them. So,
did it not move the story along, you think? There's a lot of times
I don't think so.
I
don't think it moved. I think Dennis, Dennis. I think any good performer will carry the special world that their character lives in with them, and you'll just get it. You know, you didn't need the saws coming through the wall or him contemplating suicide. It was just written all over Dennis's face. He is one of the most, tortured-looking actors. His soul is in agony. Um, that probably said it better than those two little pieces of film did, the saws and the contemplation. But I think Toby, he built this puppy to run and, like a dragster. You know, all the fat's got off of it. This is just nothing but go forward and light speed. And
That's the best way.
yeah, and I don't know. I think it's a pretty fine film in its structure and its overall completeness. What do you think?
The movie moved at well. First of all, it was. I guess I'd have to say it wasn't what I expected to see, but at the end, it's brilliant. Because, and we talked about this earlier. He took some risks. He went in a different direction. But no, that's one of the most important things that I think any director has to. One of the most important decisions any director has to make is to cut the fat and to move it, keep the story moving forward. And sometimes it's at the expense of some beautiful scenes, but if it doesn't move the story forward, you gotta cut it. I think because you gotta keep people on target, on topic.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first scene?
Comedy. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember the first scene that you shot?
Let's see, the very first one. Just bits and pieces. Bob was doing a lot of, doing the live chainsaw stuff. So they got a lot of that out of the way first. And all the parts in between that had interaction with, for close-ups with Caroline, I did those.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's see. The first one I think is after Stretch had been discovered, and what was it? He was trying to get her to give in. Kept poking Stretch with his chainsaw, poking her with it. And then I think there was a close-up after that, and maybe something else, and they put me away for. They stuck me in my dressing, like John Dugan was saying. Once you makeup's on, they don't want you out in the heat at all. So they stuck me in the air conditioning, and so I was in there for 7 weeks. On the first day I came in, makeup, wardrobe, and then into my trailer. And I was there, waiting to work. The assistant director that came to tell people, you're on. They would come three times a night, sometimes more, telling me, okay, we're in the scene, you're up next. They come back. We're holding off. We're going to go to lunch, Come back, you're on after lunch. I'm ready. They end up doing something else. And then toward the end of the night, says, okay, we're going to get you in the last shot. I'm ready. And he comes back later, says, okay, we're wrapped. Climb out of it. So that went on for 7 weeks. So he may have been trying to make me go crazy. I don't know. I know there were rumors that he tried to get folks to get freaked out in the first movie, etc. But little did he know that I was an introvert. I didn't mind being alone.
Yeah. Much like Leatherface himself,
Yeah,
Leatherface
okay.
is an introvert, no doubt.
Yeah, I just tell me when the action is. I want to go out there and get crazy, tear shit up and eat a bite of somebody and then take a nap.
Let me ask you the same question that asked John, which was, now with him it's 40. Well, since he shot, 43 years later. And now with you, it's 30, 31 years later. I'm not sure exactly when he shot. I know it was released in '86, but would you have ever guessed that this much longer, or fast forward 30 years, that you'd still be answering questions from people like me?
No
You'd
idea.
still be
Absolutely not. Nope. Didn't have a clue. Had no idea. I didn't know about. I mean, that was done in '86, and in 2003, which is what 2002, about 16 years later, I find out that there's such a thing as a horror convention. I found it out from a friend of mine who was going to be at the Chicago show. That's very, very popular. It's a great show, Flashback Weekend. And Raymond Benson, who I had worked with in Austin on a project we worked together for, excuse me, the Ultima series computer role-playing game. Richard Garriott was the head honcho on that. He was the first one to come out with digital voice in the role-playing computer game world. And that was, I can't really recall when that was. It might have been a little bit before. No, it was after Chainsaw Man. So Raymond wrote the story to, he was writing for Ultima. And he wrote a role for me, the Guardian of the Black Gate, in part of Richard Garriott's long extended story of Lord British for you role-playing game fanatics, which may not be many. They don't cross over into horror very much. But anyway, Raymond had written that role for me, and we did voice recording for that. So that was the first in the world that had been done. This was just when digital tape recorders had been created. And Richard had smuggled one in from Germany, I think, a double cassetter. And so we recorded the audio track on that. So that's a kind of a cool thing. I like to be, being part of that first wave. So Raymond was an author. He's a writer, and he had been commissioned by the Ian Fleming Society to write some James Bond books, carry on the James Bond tradition. So he was selling some of his books at Flashback, and I talked to him about that. Hey, you're selling your books? Where? I said, oh, this horror convention. I said, horror convention? There's such a thing? He says, oh yeah. Really? He said, sure. You think you could get me? I said, sure. And I think this guy, Bill Moseley. Bill Moseley is he's going to be there. Hey, I see you don't say. Who can I talk to? He says, oh, Mike Kurz, I'll hook you up. So I called Mike and said, Bill Johnson. This is Bill Johnson. Really? Do you know how long people have been looking for you? Do you have any idea?
Oh my gosh. You're like, I wish I would known sooner, right?
Exactly. So that was my first one in 2000, and I think it was 2002. Yeah, I think it was from that same show, as a matter of fact. Chicago. It was the second time I was there. I was there the next year, and there was this fan. This fan. It was this great sense of humor. Chatter, like a joke. He was probably mid-20s or so, and a real horror enthusiast, and really liked the Chainsaw franchise. And talking for a while, and I said, what do you do, man? He says, James. He says, my name's Digger. That's my nickname, Digger. What do you dig? He says, I dig graves. You do? Yeah, I'm with the local Gravediggers union here in Chicago. I'm the shop steward. I run the backhoe.
Goodness.
Yeah, putting them in the ground is not a problem. Taking them out, oh. He regaled us with a few stories about that. He said, "Hey man, sign my arm." I said, okay, let me sign this. Is to Digger.
Was he going to get it tattooed?
Yeah. But that was pretty interesting. It means a lot. I mean, there's some interesting folks coming in costume,
Yeah.
And
I remember
mostly fans are pretty laid back. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I remember at Rock and Shock in Worcester, there was a guy, and I don't know who he was, but he was wearing your costume from Texas Chainsaw 2, very memorable face of Leatherface.
Yeah.
And he came up and got whatever it was signed, and I think he had a little chainsaw, not a real one, but a little chainsaw to be signed, and you did that. I remember you guys taking pictures and stuff. But he never took his mask off. He didn't need for you to see who he was, other than he was like a mega fan. And it must be, in some respects, it must be humbling to see what efforts people go through. The costumes are amazing. They take such time to put them together, and just lots of love. And yeah, it must be great just to see that and totally respect what people do.
Yeah, it's humbling. It's fascinating and kind of mysterious. I mean, I guess the only kind of Superman was my favorite hero when I was younger, and I used to whip the cape on and run around. And Superman still is my top hero, though. Probably.
Mine too. I have Superman pajamas. No one's going to go there, so it's no one will know that, but yeah, I have Superman pajamas.
Oh so man, I remember seeing those pajamas in Sears and Roebuck catalog, and I wanted a pair so bad.
For me, it's a little different because my kids, everybody's dad is probably super dad, so they got me Superman pajamas because I'm super dad. But yes, I do have Superman pajamas. Me too. My favorite one. Cool. One last question for you, Bill, and that's can you just talk about John asked you, and you listed a couple, but what have you got coming up? You talked about I think you and Mosley and whatnot, but just if you could just in summary, what have you got going on this year, and where can people find you?
Right, we're going to have that website open soon, or fairly in the near future. They can find me there. They can find me on Facebook, and find out what's happening. my let's see, Slaughter Farm, yeah, coming up here sometime, hopefully this year, maybe next. And Among the Dead is the title. Billy Instone, the director-writer here in Austin. He did John, and I played a priest in that. Renegade. Well, I don't Renegade, but I'll just let you know that has a surprise ending. Let's just let the fans decide what they think about who that priest is in that movie. But it's about demonic possession, and so Among the Dead is a kind of a zombie, post-apocalypse zombie getting kind of movie. So that may be this year as well. Let's see, Kill or Be Killed, which was originally called Red Hot and Yellow Kill a Fella. It's a Western horror film that Dwayne Graves and Justin Meeks co-directed, probably co-wrote, I think. And Justin played the role of the lead role of the head bad guy, outlaw. And I can't pull his name up right now, the character name. I just saw Unforgiven, and all I can think of is William Money right now. But it's not a dissimilar role to the one that Clint Eastwood did. And that's being released on DVD. I think it's already been released actually, and it's a nice film for you horror folks. It's a different twist. It's very well made. It's very entertaining, and a lot of good performances. I did a scene with Pepe Serna from. You may remember Pepe as a chainsaw wielding bad person in Scarface.
Yes.
And so
I recently watched that.
He was fun to do a scene with. Ian Galen Williams. She was playing his wife. But she, not exactly. He did something terrible to both of us.
No, they just put Scarface back up for, I don't know how many times it's played on Netflix. So I watched it for the third or fourth or 20th time. Yeah,
yes. And let's see, my lyric writing career with Mary Madcox, Nurse Hatchet. Bohica is the latest thing, project, and it's right now. Just talked to Mary recently, and she said it's 4 parts, so it's a big work she's got going there. I'm looking forward to that. She's also on Facebook. Nurse Hatchet. You can Google her, and she has a couple of websites as well as her Facebook pages. So she and her husband have a very successful music and special effects makeup business. And she composes, and I like what she does. She likes what I write, so we're collaborating, and I'm looking forward to. She's released the first part, and 2, 3, and 4 are to follow. So looking forward to that. And I wrote some lyrics for Ari Lehman,
First Jason. Yeah.
And hoping that'll come out at some point. I'll keep you apprised of if and when that may take place. You cannot witness the news.
And Bill, just real quick for those who don't know who Ari is in First Jason, at the end of the original Friday the 13th, 1980, I think, or somewhere around there, at the very end, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it by now, Sorry, but a kid comes up out of the lake, and that technically was the first Jason because he had seen his mom murdered on the beach of that lake, and that forever set up Jason Voorhees. So I just thought though that just in case, but yeah, first Jason. Now he tours and has a band.
First Jason.
Yeah, it's awesome. Good deal. And
you
also
have all over the planet.
He is.
Yeah, I mean he tours Europe frequently. Ireland. Yeah. He's all over the place.
That's great.
You were saying something?
No, I was just going to say I think you got some convention dates. There are probably more that will come in. So whoever's listening now, it's not a final. It's not final. Of course, check your website, check Facebook.
Let's see.
You got a few dates coming up.
I do. June 9th through 11th, that weekend, Crypticon in Kansas City, Missouri.
And this is 2016 for future.
Right, that's here. We got Mad Monster coming up May 13th, 14th, 15th. And, June Crypticon. Then in September is Cinema Wasteland. And that's the last day of September and the first 2 days of October. So it's the last weekend of September is Cinema Wasteland. And I'm in negotiations with Petey Mangelli about the Spooky Con in Florida, which is, I really like Florida a lot. So, have you been to that show in Florida?
I have. The only, hate to say this, but the only show I've ever been to is the one where I met you. That's it.
Well, you have an exciting future ahead of you. Oh, yeah.
First and last, yeah. I think we got quite a few more of these in the future. Absolutely.
So those four are the Spooky isn't confirmed yet, but I anticipate it will be, and that's on the weekend of October 7th. So who knows what may pop up between now and then.
May I ask a quick question? Bill? Where did your theater training come from? Did you major in college in theater? What was your background? So you're a theater major?
Well, the theater major, right, I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in acting. I worked 2 semesters, was tutored privately by B.I. Payne, and for folks who are into period play production that are fairly deeply may know of him. He was the world's foremost scholar in period play production and Shakespeare when I was in school, which was like 1970 to 73 when he was there. He was in his 90s. So he was very innovative in the theater. I mean, he was a sort of rebellious, brilliant kind of, maybe a kind of a Tarantino of his period, with a lot of more British gentlemanly manner. So I had 2 years at Lonmores Junior College in Jacksonville, Texas, which is northeast Texas, and it was a great place because I got to do a bunch of roles I wouldn't have got to do in my freshman and sophomore years in college. In a 4-year school, I probably wouldn't have got much until I was a junior. When I came into UT, I was a junior, so I've had some nice roles on stage for 2 years. So, and then some of the stock, yada yada yada. Then after college, went and did a couple of years of touring with children's theater in these bands. You go to a school and set up your stuff in 10 minutes, and it's like a couple of flats, and you reenacting some story, like we did Rob Roy. God, it was truly bizarre, cutting, and lasted for like 25 minutes. 3 actors, 4 actors. We did the whole thing. We each did 3 characters apiece. So we did that for a couple of years. But did more similar stock, the kind of thing everybody does. They came back to Boston.
Yeah, and, you probably don't know this because I don't think I've ever told you, but my first major in college was technical theater, so I was in 6 different productions, lighting design guy. So that's really I love theater.
Yes.
That's why I really wanted to ask you about your background in theater and if you're a theater major, because we're kind of brothers from another mother's from way back when in college.
Oh, geez. Right. Yeah.
That is an atmosphere that everyone should experience being a theater major. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, if your brain can get into the art, I mean, if you're into any kind of artistic endeavor, theater major will definitely be. It's meant to be intense, and it's meant to be all the different disciplines working together intensely.
It absolutely is. Yeah. Cool. So let me get back to the fans and the conventions, and you could just wrap up a little bit and talk about just how has being Leatherface for the last 30 years. I mean, my God, 30 years, and God bless his soul. We've lost Gunner. You're now the most senior Leatherface, and you've been doing this for 30 years. Can you just talk a little bit more, just because I interrupted you asking you about the whole theater major thing, because I was so intrigued by that. But just tell us a little bit more about how's being Leatherface changed your life?
Well, for the better. I mean, I'm able to have interactions with folks on a regular basis that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. I don't believe. I mean, that's my guess. I didn't have like a really clear life course plotted. This is just the thing I was hoping for, though.
You're a pop icon, man. I mean, you're forever there, right? It's awesome.
Well, the character's there, yeah, for sure, and my name will be associated with it. But it's really the movie. It's not me. Good Lord. I mean, I'd like to, I suppose. I mean, if it were about me, Bill Johnson, making it like this thing that lasted 30 years, I would have to be a lot more than I am. I know that for sure. But you were sucked up into the stuff.
You were sucked up into the vortex, though, with Texas Chainsaw, which...
Yeah, I had my...
Globally.
I fitted in there. Globally, yeah. Toby wrote a movie, everybody went, yeah, I recognize that. Oh, yeah. I do.
It's about primal fear, right? It's what would you do in that situation if you were cornered by Leatherface, right? And we were talking a day or so ago, Bill, and I was telling you about how I think Leatherface of course I'm biased because I know you guys, but that aside, it's always been the most scariest to me because Leatherface, and Dan talked about this too in the interview that we did a couple years ago. Leatherface is human. You can kill Leatherface. Like Michael Myers, Jason, Freddy, they're like roaches. They keep coming back. You kill them, they just keep coming back. Leatherface isn't that.
Well, I don't know.
And I think
that may just change.
now actors may come back and they may keep making the movies, but the character isn't immortal. And I think that's what what makes him the
After
scary.
running Bubba through and then having Bubba show up, so the timeline kept jumping around. Parallel universes and prequels, jumping into the prequel.
And you actually had a chainsaw go through you, right? And mortal. And you had a chainsaw go through you, right? So we thought Leatherface was gone, but not really.
Yeah, what's up with that? That looked like a pretty good kill move to me. That entire chainsaw bar zooping through your guts, working like
you know what? Movie magic, but at least it's not Jason and Freddy and Michael where they just keep popping up like mushrooms everywhere. I guess as they made more movies, they just kept retelling the story from a different point of view, but they always kept Leatherface human. And I think that's what the fans agree. I think that's what the fans gravitate towards. It's so. It's a fear.
Everyman.
It can happen.
It can happen. Every one of us. We got to head this off at the past before it's really horrible.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. What a great night. I'd just like to wrap this up and say again how it started this conversation over 100 minutes ago.
That would have worked out. That's the way it works.
No, these are the conversations that we need to. Yeah, you're right. But congratulations on 30 years, Bill, and 30 years more. I'm proud to call you my friend, and you keep teaching me a lot. And God love you. And I hope we keep working together. It's been a real pleasure working with you, and thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome, and thank you very much for being everything you can be, including me in all of that. That's cool. Thank you.
You're very welcome, my friend. Have a great night down in Austin, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Okie dokie. Looking forward to the film stuff coming up and our other.
Oh my God! There.
Our other project.
You just opened the can. You just opened the can of worms. Please. So let me plug us. So FlyerFarm.com and Bill and Brett and Dan and hopefully RA. Everybody's going to be involved in this project. It's phenomenal. There's a lot inside baseball that was on this conversation tonight with folks calling in, and even Dan revealed some stuff I wouldn't have even thought he would reveal. So I hope people can listen and maybe rewind, listen to a few words back and forth. But we got some stuff cooking, and we got a great group of people working together. And my God, Bill, thank you.
We're going to use that brother trick, brother, make you listen.
Yeah. Well, that's part of it, I guess. But you're the meat of the night, though. 30 years of Leatherface. Great movie.
I made it this far.
Just re-released on Blu-ray, and folks should go check it out. And Bill, talk to you real soon. Thank you, brother.
Thank you very much, Ron. It's a great honor and a privilege. Have a wonderful evening.
Take care, man.